All right, thank you. We'll be reconvening our meeting at this time. Please stand for the pledge. All right, hello everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. I'm going to turn this right over to Jeremy, who is our Communication Committee Chairperson.
The Communication Committee tonight would like to recognize Matt Angel. We received a letter from RIT, and we would like to make sure that the district knows what a great teacher we have. Each year, the Rochester Institute of Technology honors its outstanding undergraduate scholars. This is a select group of students who have completed at least 83 credit hours of study and have established a cumulative grade point average of at least 3.85 for all work completed at the university as of the previous spring term. Only 1% of RIT students receive this recognition in any year. We asked our outstanding undergraduate scholars each to identify a high school or community college teacher they consider to be the best, a teacher they would honor as a role model and who had a profound influence on them as they planned for their future. Stephen Palmer, a graduate of Wayne Central, nominated Matt Angel. A certificate of recognition was given to Mr. Angel, so we would like to congratulate Mr. Angel, and we congratulate Wayne Central's contribution to the advancement of our society. So the Wayne Central School Board would like to thank Matt Angel, who is not here tonight.
Thank you, Jeremy. Next, I will turn it over to Renee, as I believe we have some Wayne County supervisors here that would like to honor some of our students.
So tonight we have with us Mr. John Smith. He's the town supervisor of Ontario, and Ms. Patty Marini. She's the town supervisor of Walworth. Both will be recognizing our student athletes and coaches this evening. So we'll ask both of them to please pick up a mic and step forward with our athletic director, Mr. Mike Carney. You can take that one.
That was a setup. That was too loud.
It was a very exciting winter season at Wayne, and we'd like to honor some of our teams that showed some exceptional performances. First up, we'd like to introduce our Section 5 Championship Girls High School Basketball team. Jessica Quick, head coach, and the rest of the girls, you want to come on down? This is girls basketball. I think we're getting a picture of yourself. Cool.
All right. Basketball? Really? Wayne Central School District, Section 5 basketball champions. Whereas the Wayne Central High School girls basketball team has become New York State Section 5 Class BB champions under the direction of Coach Jessica Quick. And whereas team players Alexis Best, Taylor Courts, Dominique Hammond, Kristen Huffman, Shayna McLeod, Hannah Mitchell, Morgan Panapento, Nicole Peck, Bailey Pratt, Brianna Schmidt have made their school district and community proud by earning this sports achievement. Whereas the Wayne County School Girls Golden Eagles' high standards of sportsmanship along with their consolidated team effort have led them to the state sectional title. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Wayne County Board of Supervisors hereby extends their congratulations to the Wayne Central School District girls basketball team for the honor they have brought to the Wayne County community. James D. Hoffman, John Smith, Patty Marini, on behalf of Wayne County. Good job. Very nice. Pass it on down. Okay, you can take your seats.
Okay. That's all we got.
Thanks. Nice job.
Our other high achievers this winter were members of our boys varsity wrestling team. So at this time, I would like to ask Luke Janklowski, Brian Langtree, and Joe Slawowski to come forward, please.
All right, which one's Luke? Brian? What's your name? It's a test. Joe, nice job. Wayne Central School District, Section 5, Class BBB, wrestling title. Luke Janklowski, whereas Luke Janklowski, member of the Wayne Central School District wrestling team, was a Section 5, Class BBB champion, along with Section 5 state qualifier, coming in 6th place in the Eastern State Classic, 2nd in the Wayne Finger Lakes League Championship, and 2nd in the New York State Wrestling Championship. And whereas Luke has developed his own wrestling style through hard work, repeated practices, and conditioning to make him successful in the sport of wrestling. Whereas Luke's unfailing focus, attention to technique, and new ideas and attendance at numerous practices have helped him earn these many local, regional, and state titles. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Supervisors hereby extends their congratulations to Luke Janklowski for the honor he has brought to Wayne County. Jim Hoffman, Patty Marini, and John Smith. Nice job. Nice job. All right, we're not done yet. You guys are overachievers. Whereas Joe Silwowski, a member of the Wayne Central School District wrestling team, was a Section 5 Class BBB champion in the Art Bear Connerton Memorial Tournament and Jack Fisher Newark Invitational champion. He placed 2nd as a Section 5 state qualifier, 3rd in the Wayne Finger Lakes Championship, and 4th in the New York State Tournament. And whereas Joe's constant conditioning, training, and hard work have resulted in him being physically and mentally able to achieve these wrestling goals. And whereas Joe has remained focused and dedicated through the sports seasons with the purpose of achieving worthwhile results, now, therefore, be it resolved from the Wayne County Board of Supervisors, we extend their congratulations to Joe Solowski for the honor he's brought to Wayne County, James D. Hoffman, Patty Marini, and John Smith. Congratulations. And last but not least, whereas Brian Lantry, a member of the Wayne Central School District wrestling team, was the Webster Tournament 4th Eastern State Classic Jack Fisher Newark Invitational Wayne Finger Lakes League Section 5 Class BBB Section 5 State Qualifier and New York State Wrestling Tournament champion. And whereas Brian has practiced tirelessly and put forth a strong effort in reaching his wrestling goals through conditioning, determination, and training to be successful at every match. And whereas Brian has demonstrated the highest standards of sportsmanship by showing respect and taking the time to examine his actions during a match to see how he can improve and learn from the experience. Whereas Brian has continued through repeated practices and competitions to improve his wrestling skills. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Wayne County Board of Supervisors hereby extends their congratulations to Brian Lantry for the honor he has brought to Wayne County by achieving these many wrestling titles. James D. Hoffman, Patty Marini, and John Smith, outstanding.
Coach Baum is not here. I'll accept on his behalf.
So we have someone who is not here. Coach Luke Baum is not here. So we'll just run this down anyways. Whereas Wayne Central School District wrestling coach Luke Baum has been named the 2013-2014 Section 5 Wrestling Coach of the Year by the Section 5 Wrestling Officials Association based on his high level of integrity, dedication to team, the sport and the manner in which he conducts himself with wrestlers and officials. And whereas sports are a major part of the public school experience for youth, provides young people with focus and challenges, oftentimes adding to the educational process. And whereas Luke Baum has provided his players with a safe and healthy environment for the sport, has worked tirelessly to serve our children and community with care, dedication, and professionalism. Whereas the 2013-14 wrestling season marks only the 4th season Coach Baum has been a coach at the Wayne Central School District. During this time, he has developed a successful wrestling program, inspiring students and giving them someone to look up to. Now, therefore, it be resolved. The Wayne County Board of Supervisors recognizes Luke Baum for a job well done, give him their greatest appreciation for his hard work, dedication to our youth, recognizing his accomplishments, and wish him continued success. James D. Hoffman, Patty Marini, and John Smith. Accepting will be our beloved athletic director.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Thank you, Town Supervisors. Also, just a follow-up, signs will be going up in our community with the help of Mrs. Gebhardt and the Town Supervisors to honor those students and that coach. At this time, we'll transition into the budget hearing, and that will be seen on the screen behind me. We're going to start with the first slide, but you are welcome to leave if you are not here for that purpose. Do we have a clicker? So the first slide that we have for you tonight is the total budget. You can see that there you go, thanks, Joe. Our budget is up. The proposed budget for the 2014-15 school year is $44,471,060. We'll explain a little bit about why that cost is up. We'll refer to our cost drivers and some of the forces behind that. In front of you is the 3-part budget. So our budget is broken into 3 parts. Our program, which is really where the teaching and learning happens. That's the instructional portion of our budget. And the next part is the administrative portion. You can see that's up by $475,940. You can also see that the capital portion of our budget, which is really the operations and maintenance side of our budget, is down by $304,940. This really is due to debt service that is coming off our books. Debt service is basically a loan for a capital project in the past that we no longer have to pay for. Our total budget is up by a little over $1.6 million. You can see that 80% of our budget is really driven to the program. You can see that 10% is going towards administrative and 10% towards capital. These are our cost drivers. So why is our budget up from last year? One of them is medical and dental insurance for our employees. We have some contractual obligations, and it's not just benefits that are getting richer for our employees. That's not it at all. It really is the health insurance premiums. Those are going up, so that's why you see that number. The teacher retirement system is also on the rise, and that is for all certificated employees. So both administrators, teachers, and teaching assistants, anyone with a certificate in our organization. Workers' compensation is also up, and that's claims for individuals that are injured on the job. We also have technology going up by $471,980, and that really is because a few years ago we were looking at zero in that line item, and now we've added a placeholder so that we can fulfill our 3-year tech plan. So those are our main cost drivers.
As you saw in an earlier slide, 80% of our budget goes to program, and our program is largely dependent on staff. So when we begin the budget process each year, the first thing we consider are the programmatic needs of our students, and we begin with the end in mind in terms of our district, what we call our compass goals or our guiding goals, the academic standards that we hold ourselves to as educators. Our budget discussions fell into 2 main categories, one of maintenance and the other of support. With regard to maintenance, we were committed as a team to maintaining the level of programming that we had previously provided our students. Tonight we saw some athletic achievements. That's a part of our program budget. We're committed to offering an academic program that challenges students, that supports students, and that allows students to pursue their areas of interest, which includes our academics and our clubs as well. Support, typically when we look at staffing adjustments, and that's what you'll see on the next couple of slides, staffing adjustments can be in response to changes in enrollment levels. This year's staffing adjustments are not in relation to enrollment. They're in relation to the rigor of the standards and the need to provide more of our students with some support to help them reach those higher standards. They reflect our commitment to get all students to those standards. So at Ontario Primary, we have increased a reading teacher from half-time to full-time. At the middle school level, we are increasing a social studies position from 0.6 to 1.0. And what that means is we have a social studies teacher teaching 3 sections of social studies who is a part-time employee. We have a special education teacher who is also certified in social studies, and 2 of the courses that she teaches currently are social studies courses. Next year, we're not going to have more social studies taught, but we're going to have all 5 sections taught by a social studies teacher so that we can fully commit that special education teacher to the special education needs at the middle school. So you see, even though that looks like a social studies addition, it's to continue to provide additional support for our students. We're looking at a teaching assistant in the middle school to help with our academic intervention support, a reading teacher at Freewell, and to increase our librarian from 0.6 to 1.0. Our librarian supports students directly as they learn to do research, but she also supports our teachers as they plan for instruction and with higher standards. At the high school, we're adding a 611 teacher. When you look at these numbers, they stand for 6 students, 1 teacher, and 1 aide. And different student needs require different ratios of support. At Ontario Primary, we're looking at a 15-1-1. And at Ontario Elementary in the fall, we're going to be adding a 12-1-1. 12 students, 1 teacher, 1 aide. Technology has moved from a luxury to a necessity. So as our technology increases in the district, we really need to provide some additional support for our staff. Gone are the days when a technology problem is something a teacher can just simply overcome. A lot of times high-quality lessons depend on technology to be there right now. So adding a help desk person and a computer technician will help us to continue to keep the technology flowing. We do hold true to our commitment to providing a high-quality education, but we keep in mind making sure that the product that we're presenting is affordable. This next slide shows our per-pupil expenditure as compared to similar schools. So similar schools would have similar demographics, they'll be of similar size, and then of the average of all schools. So in the area of general education, our per-pupil expenditure is just over $9,000 when compared to similar schools at $10,500, and then all schools across New York State at $11,600. So in the way of general education, we are below average in cost, but I think we're above average in quality. Special education tells a different story. Our average cost per student in special education is $32,437. That's above the average of similar schools that come in at $29,262, and it's even above the average for all schools at $30,207. I think that reflects our commitment to having the same standards for all students, but providing the additional support needed to help those students with special needs meet those standards.
So you can see from this slide, our state aid has increased from last year. Almost 1.4 million additional state aid from the state, and a lot of this increase is really due to the lobbying efforts and the advocacy that we've engaged in. The next slide actually shows you our state aid history, and you can see from this slide that we are almost back to the levels that we were back in 2009-10, and that's our benchmark year because that's when, a few years ago, the state decided that they couldn't afford what they were giving schools, and they decided to freeze it. So you can see that we're almost right back to where we were, and that again has helped us continue the program that we have here at Wayne.
So any of our budget presentations in the past have always included information about our reserves. Reserves are basically savings accounts for very specific purposes. And in the spirit of transparency, we continually share this information so that everyone knows what this money's for and where it lies. So the first reserve is an unemployment reserve. This covers any unemployment claims that we have to pay to the unemployment insurance fund. And you can see that the balance in that reserve as of January 31st was $566,000. The second type of reserve that the district has is an insurance reserve. This is used to pay any liability, casualty, and other types of losses that aren't covered by other types of insurance. That balance is $1,245,052. The third type of reserve is a capital reserve, and the district actually has two. The first one is for capital improvements. It's created by voter approval. It has a threshold of, on the high end, of $5 million plus accrued earnings, and the district currently has a balance in there of $1,364,282. $4 million from that reserve was transferred over to the capital fund to help fund the current construction project that's underway. The second type of capital reserve that we have is a bus purchase reserve. That has a top threshold of $4 million. Once again, this reserve, as all capital reserves, requires voter approval to create it, voter approval to spend the money out of it. Once again, we'll be asking the voters to approve bus purchases for the next school year. You'll see that in a few slides. The balance in the bus purchase reserve is almost $1,850,000. Retirement contribution reserve. This reserve was established a few years ago to help school districts as a contribution rate for the employees' retirement system spiked with the, in line with the collapse of the state's economy and the lower return on investment at Wall Street. This reserve was put in place to help districts offset those higher contribution rates. Next year, our contribution rates for ERS are, I believe, they're around 19%. Probably 4 or 5 years ago, they were less than 1%. So when those contribution rates go up, our costs go up. Currently, we have $5.5 million in that reserve. Liability reserve, this is a reserve for any types of liabilities that this district could incur. We have $1,250,000 in this reserve. Workers' compensation, like any other business, if people get hurt on the job, there's laws in the state that govern how that all works, and the district has to pay workers' compensation claims. Currently, we have a reserve of $1.4 million to help us fund those claims. Tax tertiary reserve, this is actually the district's newest reserve. From time to time, we have taxpayers that might challenge their assessment. Sometimes those challenges go fairly smoothly. Sometimes they end up going through the courts. The district is in the middle of a challenge currently. We are partnering with the town and the county, as we have in the past, on this challenge. Currently, we have almost $32,000 in that reserve. The Employee Benefit Accrued Liability, or the EBLR reserve, this reserve was set up by the state to allow school districts and municipalities from time to time when employees retire, as per the bargaining unit contract that governs them, there's certain benefits that get paid out to them. We are able to take those costs out of this reserve rather than having to budget for them in the general fund. So $1,067,831. This chart shows you the amount of reserve money that will be used to help fund next year's budget. You can see out of the unemployment reserve, we're going to use $42,500. Out of the ERS reserve that I just talked about, $850,000. Workers' comp, we're going to be using $145,000. Applied fund balance is actually a term that relates to the money that we believe will be left over in this year's budget and unspent at the end of the year. And we're committed to take that money and use it to help offset next year's, help fund next year's budget and keep the tax levy costs down. So we are using $3.2 million of our equity to help fund next year's budget. There's other reserves that we also use, and these also benefit the general fund, even though they're not a part of the general fund. I already talked about the employee, or the bus purchase reserve, the EBLR reserve. We're going to use, planning on using 5,000, and our outstanding liability right now on the tax challenge case is set at 217,000, but that is not a final number yet. We're still waiting for a decision by the court. So you can see that $829,000 in potential costs of the district would be funded through reserves rather than through our general operating budget. This chart here, I apologize, it's a little bit small, but it shows you the history of all of our reserves from the year 2011 up to the present and including next year. And you can see back in 2011, the district had almost $23 million in reserves. It's been our plan when the state's economy took a dive to use our reserves and our equity to fund the program at Wayne, rather than keeping costs down by cutting program and cutting staff. It was our long-term strategy to use the equity to help fund our program. And you can see we've done that steadily, and we're projected at the end of next school year to have reserve balances down around $15 million. So you can see that we've used almost $8 million over this period of time in reserve funds to help fund the program at Wayne Central. This chart shows you our tax levy history over the past several years. Tax levy represents the amount of money that the district raises from our residents to help support our program. The current amount that we raise through the residents is $19,672,192, and next year's proposed budget, we're proposing that that dollar amount stay the same for the second year in a row. It's always been the strategy of the board and the administration to try to keep that line as flat as possible, because we understand that the community has to have the ability to fund the program that we offer to our students at Wayne. This chart shows you our tax rate over that same period of time, and you can see back in 2006-07, we were at $21.36 per thousand, and even though we went through probably one of the worst financial times in New York State history, over that period of time we were able to lower our tax rate through our financial planning, and currently our tax rate stands at $20.68, and by leaving the levy the same for the second year in a row, we're estimating that our tax rate will go down to $20.55. I use the term estimated because the tax rate won't be set by the board until August, because the tax rolls are not finalized until late July or early August. But the preliminary numbers that we have currently from our town show that we do have some growth to help with the tax rate.
So at the booth, what you'll see are two propositions. One is for our total school budget, as presented earlier, $44,471,060. The second is for the school bus purchase. That reserve takes voter approval to create and voter approval to spend. We are asking for approval to purchase 4 large buses and 2 small buses this year to keep our fleet current. We have 3 open positions on the board and 4 candidates for those positions. Ron Miller is finishing up a partial term that he started in the fall and is interested in another 3 years. Pam Pendleton is a new candidate to the board. Dennis Landry is also a new candidate to the board. And Debbie Hibbard is finishing her first 3-year term and is interested in a second 3-year term. Meet the Candidates Night is on our has been videotaped and is on our webpage if you'd like to see it or like to get to know a little bit more about those 4 candidates to help you make your decision. We are having our annual budget hearing now, and our vote is on May 20th from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the high school gym, and there will also be chicken barbecue available through our football boosters.
Does the board have any questions about the proposed budget or the budget presentation? All right, Mr. McTighe, before we take community comments, do you have anything to say?
By the way, thank you for the presentation. Just as a reminder to everyone, although this is a budget presentation, it is part of our board meeting. So the rules of public comment will be in place for the questions here as well. And it seems like maybe there's some new faces. I don't have my glasses on, and you're sitting farther away than normal, so could be my family out there. I really don't know. I'm taking a shot in the dark. But I'll go over just quickly. The questions for this session are specifically for budget questions. And just as a friendly reminder, we have been over this before where we don't want any names used. We don't want you to come up here and say, Phil McTighe, this is the craziest budget in the history of Earth. How could you have possibly voted yes for this? So, or endorse this. So please don't use names out of respect to our staff and the board and other community members as well. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Renee and Greg.
If you have a question, please step forward to either of the two mics.
Susan Brown, 7518 Knickerbocker Road. First, where is the listing of budget presentations that will be done around the community? I assume there are some being done. Is that available on the website?
Greg, do you have that answer?
Yes, that is available on our website.
We spend a tremendous amount of money meeting the needs of our lowest level struggling students. We tend to spend very little money trying to brush the surface of the needs of our highest functioning students. I was wondering what portion of the budget tonight goes to meet the needs of our highest functioning students.
Joe?
I can't answer that question in terms of numbers. I can tell you, as we've had many conversations, I know whatever number I would give you wouldn't be enough. It's something that we do talk about, and it is an issue. I think that we have a pretty dedicated staff who, of teachers who have a ton on their plates, and I think that they often will provide additional enrichment and resource for kids and try to help them be challenged. We have programs like AP. We probably have more upper level programs at the upper level than most schools our size when you consider our International Baccalaureate program. Our advanced placement programs, we continue to add to our Gemini programs at the high school level. But I can't give you I think I can't give you a number on that because the question's not. That would be one way to define it.
Are there other questions? Okay, at this time, we'll ask students that are here for the government class to step forward and have your papers signed. Board members, if you would raise your hands. And Mr. McTighe, are you interested in taking a break at this time? Yes. How much?
10 minutes.
A 10-minute break, please.
All right. All right, well, I really did try twice with this thing, and it wasn't working. And now it's working, so I'm shouting. Next, we'll reconvene the meeting. And next up on tonight's agenda will be, we will be approving our meeting minutes for March 20th, 2014, and April 23rd, 2014, as well as tonight's agenda. Before that occurs, I would like to make a motion to amend tonight's agenda. I would like to add a second executive session for the anticipated review of certain employees' files as part of the superintendent evaluations. Do I have a motion? Jeremy, thank you. Do I have a second? Carla, thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All set, Kathy? Okay. All right, so then I will start with tonight's agenda. I will need a motion to approve the amended agenda for tonight as presented. Tim, thank you. I will second it. Is there any discussion on the amended agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, very good, thank you. The next, I'll need a motion to approve the meeting minutes for March 20th and April 23rd of 2014. Can I get a motion? Matt, thank you. Second? Jeremy, thank you. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? All in favor? Any opposed? Roger? Thank you. Okay. Next up on tonight's agenda is public comment. I just had a moment to go over public comment rules. I will add, since we've reconvened our actual meeting, it is a 3-minute limit per person. We have 15 minutes total, and at the 2.5-minute mark, I'll give you a wink and a nod to remind you you're approaching your 3-minute limit. And as I did state earlier, I ask that everybody that comes up and speaks first, by the way, the first public comment is for items that are on tonight's agenda. And please state your name and address. I also ask, as I already stated once, that please refrain from using names or titles. It's just out of respect to staff, other community members, students. We really want to avoid using names. So at that, I thank you in advance for following those rules, and public comments open. Very good, thank you. And then I will move right into board member comments. Do I have any board members? Sir?
Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. I'd like to acknowledge and pass on sympathies from the Board of Education of Wayne Central to the family, to the Maitland family, as earlier this month they lost their patriarch, Donald Maitland. We had a student here by the name of Austin who was active, and I worked with his father also, Jay. And from the board, I just wanted to pass on that word of sympathy. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Deb?
Thanks, Phil. I just wanted to acknowledge the work that some parent volunteers put in outside this afternoon. You may have seen a lot of cars going on. They had their second annual Cradle for a Cure, raising money for Camp Good Days. I got to meet the director of Camp Good Days this afternoon, and I quickly stopped in to see how the fundraising was going out there, and a rough estimate is in the thousands of dollars that they've raised for Camp Good Days. So for a small community and you know, a lot of parent volunteer time and effort from parents and student athletes, I think they did a fantastic job today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other board members?
I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that on May 23rd, we'll be having the Bald for Bucks event where students and teachers have volunteered to either have their hair severely shortened or removed to help raise money for cancer awareness.
I would just like to apologize for ducking out a little bit ago. I'm having a little shortness of breath and I needed to do a treatment, so I apologize. It wasn't because the presentation wasn't good, even though I've seen it 4 times. It really was a good presentation. Thank you.
I must have gotten the date wrong on shortening your hair. Any other board member comments? All right, good. We'll move to president comments, and the only thing I would add is thanks for bringing that to our attention, Dom. I also worked with Jay in the police department, and I'm very sad to hear about the loss of the family, for the Maitland family. Next up on tonight's agenda is personnel action. And with that, I will turn it over to Superintendent.
Personnel items tonight are resignations and some leaves of absence. We also have some stipend appointments for your consideration.
I am going to ask for one amendment to the personnel action. So we'll start by, I will start by asking to amend the personnel action to read volunteer lacrosse coach after Travis Camp. I'm sorry, I believe it says girls. We just want it to read volunteer lacrosse coach. So I will be asking for that amendment to be made. Can I get a motion to make that change? Karen, thank you. Can I get a second? Matt, thank you. Any discussion on that?
Is that for across the board?
Yes.
That
Go
was
ahead.
my question,
Okay.
was does it have to say boys or girls, or we can just say volunteer?
We just say volunteer,
Okay.
which actually allows either or.
Okay, thanks.
Good questions. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, so then I will ask for a motion to approve the amended personnel action. Karen, thank you. Do I have a second? Ron? Very good. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Next on the agenda is the CSE CPSE recommendation. I'll need a motion to approve the CSE CPSE recommendations. Tim, thank you. I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Next item on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda. Renee, I will ask you to provide any highlights if you have any.
So in the past, we've had several presentations on the approval for the high school club. It is the Asset Club. We are looking at advisors for that club. The Asset program is the 40 developmental assets that really promote character education in our middle school and high school. You also see the property tax report card that's on there for your approval, a budget transfer, and then some surplus items that we are looking at.
Very good, thank you. So I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Carla, thank you. Second. Dom, thank you. Any discussion? The only thing I will add, Kathy, is for the list of gifts, could we send? Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, very good. With that, we come to committee reports. We will start with Policy Committee. Dom?
Yeah, we'll be meeting on the 15th of May. That's next Thursday at 4:20 at the district office. We're slated for a 2-hour meeting to sew up any loose ends for the year. Anybody that's interested in showing up, you're more than welcome. And that's all I have.
Very good. Jeremy?
Communications Committee met tonight. We have chosen our dates for next year. They will be in the district calendar. And I, of course, put them away in a place that I can't be found. They will be October 7th, December 9th, February 10th, April 7th, and June 9th. That is every other month, the first Tuesday, or the second Tuesday of the month. We will decide on topics as we get a little bit closer to that. And besides that, the Communication Committee has adjourned until July's reorg.
All right, thank you. And Matt, Audit Committee?
Our next meeting will be a week from tonight at 6:30 p.m. District Office, and that's it.
Next item up is second public comment. I haven't seen a lot of movement of personnel, so will not necessarily remind everyone of the rules. However, the only change is you can now talk about anything. Does not have to be on tonight's agenda. So, that being said, we're open.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. President and Board. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Paz for his service on the board. Our paths crossed when I was on the board for 15 years. Dom, thank you for taking over policy. Thank you for putting up with my arguments. I really enjoyed them. And good luck leaving the board, and hope you enjoy whatever it is you're about to do from here on out. Mr. Atsef will certainly confirm that I enjoyed arguing with Dom, as did most of the rest of the board and the administrators. I argued with them all. So thank you very much, and Dom, sincerely, thank you. Jackie Bruner, that's B-R-U-N-N-E-R, 1404 Mountain Laurel Lane, Ontario, New York.
I completely dropped the ball there. I've said it twice myself already, asking people to not use names, and I got caught up in the comments, and I apologize. I think that's at least twice, but who's keeping track of me failing to follow my own rules, so apologize for that, but nice job, Dom. Public comment still open. Next. Okay, Public comment is still going twice.
I've got 3 minutes, right? Susan Brown, 7518 Knickerbocker Road. I would like to thank the board members who have contributed their time and are now leaving.
Well done.
I think it is poor form to not be able to thank people for service by name or position. I also think it's poor form to sit there and say this is the Performing Arts Center and we are not supposed to have food or drinks in here and to have a whole row of drinks. If we have behaviors that we want to promote for children, we need to model them ourselves. Thank you.
Public comment is still open.
Hello, my name is Christine Duncan, 474 Shorewood Trail, Ontario, New York. For the past 2 weeks, I have been in correspondence with the school district in regards to my daughter, Jacqueline Duncan. She's been placed in the 611 program after 3 years of suffering. We've been in the school district since 2005. She's a 17-year-old junior at this high school. She was once an honor roll student, a cheerleader, a dance competitor, and now she's deteriorated into the depths of hell. I've watched my daughter suffer endlessly in physical and emotional pain. Finally, in January of this year, she was diagnosed with PANDAS, which is pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder associated with strep virus. The strep virus has attacked her brain, much like encephalitis. This is a chronic condition. It affects her executive functioning skills. It affects her ability to do schoolwork as she once did. She's no longer an honor roll student. She's given up most of what she loves. She cannot drive. She does not participate in activities outside of school. She spends the majority of her time at home with us. On top of that, she's missed a great deal of school, and her grades have suffered. In third semester of this year, she missed a great deal of school. She has an excuse provided by her PANDAS physician stating the reason for that absence, and part of that was because she was placed in the 611 program, which is the most restrictive environment. We asked from the beginning of the year that she have a different program available to her, and we're told that there was no program available, including tutoring, that was not accessible to her. Being in that classroom exacerbated her illness, as it's a very stressful environment. The teachers are amazing, amazing teachers, but it is a stressed program, as children in that classroom frequently have outbursts of anger which exacerbate my daughter's symptoms. She would try to attend, and in 6 hours of time, she would learn less than she would in an hour after school with a teacher. The reason for this is because the teacher often had to step out to deal with a student who was unruly. On top of that, she's been diagnosed with reflex neurovascular dystrophy, a condition that causes chronic pain and shock symptoms all throughout her body. Again, this has greatly affected my daughter's life. Despite the fact that I've given this school board and the school district information from her doctors, despite the fact that we've spent a week of this school district interrogating those doctors, and those were their words. They were interrogated, there were lies told about my daughter, she was mischaracterized, and as much as saying that she didn't show up for her tutoring sessions, and as much as saying that during her absences, she was spending time doing things other than being at home or seeing physicians. Now she's being told that she cannot attend her junior prom. I submit that this goes against her rights as an ADA patient, that this goes against her civil rights. She was told that she didn't meet the academic requirements, and as of last Monday, she was not only passing 3 classes, but as of this Monday, she was passing 4. And now I'm being told that because she didn't meet those requirements by the end of third semester, that she cannot still attend prom. The rules continually seem to be changing, and that's not fair to this child, because I was told that each one of these cases are looked at on a case-by-case basis. I currently have in my hand paperwork from another child, handwritten out, stating that last Friday she was not passing any of her classes.
Ma'am, I need
not
you to
third semester.
I need you to summarize, please.
I'm summarizing.
Okay, thank you.
Not third semester, not now. And as a matter of fact, she's going to prom. This is my daughter's last year here. Next year, she will have to be homeschooled due to her health care issues. She's receiving a blood transfusion in hopes that it will reboot her brain, an $11,000 blood transfusion. You are squelching the dreams that she has one chance to do something with her junior class. And I beg this school district to do the right thing. And 956 petitioners have begged the school district to do the right thing by one child and allow her to not be a patient, but to be a junior class student for one night with her friends. One night. And it doesn't hurt anybody else but her to not let her go. Nobody else is affected. This whole folder has medical documentation showing that Panda's patients frequently miss school. She's made up the work, and we're still being told that she cannot attend. And I want to know why 504 and IEP students are being held to the same standard as mainstream students, when obviously they face deeper challenges. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, psychological therapy, blood transfusions, and so on. It's not right. It's not fair. Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right, thank you. Next on the agenda are board member comments. Do I have any further board member comments? Thank you. Next is board president comments. I additionally do not have any. Next, I need a motion to go into executive session for to review the certain employees' files as part of the superintendent evaluations. Can I get a motion? Jeremy, thank you. Second. Matt, thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. So the motion carries. Prior to adjournment, we will be going into executive session, and we will, after that, we will be coming back to actually adjourn the meeting. You're welcome to stay, but you're not required to. All right, at that, thank you.